Hello, good morning. Morning, Deb. All three of us
Hello.
together.
Hello. Thanks for welcoming back into the fold.
Oh, David, good to see you. Good to see you. We did miss you last week. You know, the poor viewer was short. The poor viewer was shortchanged with just Chris and I.
I'm sure that's not true, but
Yeah, no, they were. No, you know, we've had hundreds of emails coming in saying, "Where was the lovely Deb?" You know, so there we are. Yeah.
oh,
We soon just put them in the bin, so nobody saw them. So you're okay. Yeah, no
yeah,
problem. Well,
yeah.
it's good to see you back, and whatever. Busy week, school assemblies everywhere.
Yes, yes. And I was just saying, also Helen's licensing yesterday
Yes,
in
yeah.
Bedford, so she's in, and priest in charge. She looks very in charge as usual.
That's in St Albans Diocese.
That is, yes. So, and that's great. I saw her. I only could go by Zoom, sadly, but Philip Ringer was there in person to represent all of us, which was lovely. And yeah.
And which bishop did the licensing? Was it the diocesan bishop? Do you know?
Well, I got in slightly late, so I didn't hear his name, but I don't think it was the diocesan bishop. No, but it was.
He and I worked together when he was Bishop of Shrewsbury because I was rural chaplain with him. So he's a good man. Alan Smith, a good man.
Oh, well, maybe it was Alan Smith actually. The view wasn't. Well, I could see Helen easily because I know her, but of course everyone else I didn't really know. But yes, except for Mike, her husband, I could see him because he's in the same deanery, so he was amongst the deanery colleagues. It all looked very jolly, and
good.
Yeah.
Good. And you've been busy with the leaving assemblies, Chris, carrying boxes of Bibles to the village. Very, very, very evangelical. Well done.
Well, that's it. I even had somebody ask for my box of Bibles yesterday, but they thought it was full of beer. And when they realised the actual contents were something a bit more holy than beer, they declined the offer.
I mean, it's a bit water into wine, you know. Bibles into beer.
I regularly get asked to do things like that.
Yeah.
But Chris, does that say something about yourself that you're normally carrying boxes of beer rather than boxes of Bibles?
No comment.
This could be a very short. This could be a very short rev chat. No comment. No comment.
Oh.
Yeah, well, I've got a box of Bibles in my boot of my car to take to Musterton, so they won't get lost. So it's a big time for Bible manufacturers, obviously, for school leavers gifts. So there we are.
And we were really happy to host the pilgrims.
Oh yes,
yes, the Archdeacon of Dorset was leading a group of pilgrims. They were all from Wyke Regis, my last parish, and so some of the kids remembered me and Brian because he used to teach them. So that was really nice, and they were very, very good, and they had a great slap-up meal. I think they had a brilliant time the night before in Portisham with Margaret because they stayed in tents with her, and I think they'd had a great time there too. And yes.
They were walking from Lulworth Cove to Whitchurch Canonicorum, did I read?
Yes. So they got to Whitchurch yesterday. So they left us in the morning. We were going to give them breakfast, but in the end they decided to go to Wetherspoons, probably not for a beer, but definitely for breakfast. And then
certainly not for a Bible, though.
Not a Bible, no. But they did have a slap-up breakfast there. They had a really great feed from loads of people from the parish. They made a great feast last night, the night they stayed on Tuesday, and they had a mountain of cake, all sorts of great stuff. But yeah, they did really well. So I think they did the pilgrimage St. White at the end. So they were brilliant. I think all in all, they probably walked about 50 miles. So,
wow.
And some of the kids were quite young, only year 9s. So, they did really well.
We had some pilgrims stop in Netherby.
Oh.
These are all older people or older young people. They're young, but older than your group. And they emailed us some time ago. They were walking from somewhere like Glastonbury to somewhere in Cornwall, I think, that kind of thing. Joe had the first email, and we sent it on to the church ward at Netherbury, who arranged it. And there were about 15, 18 of them, all in their, I would say, either very late teens or early 20s by the picture I saw.
Yeah.
And but they were all dressed quite strangely. And the church warden said he went up in the morning to say goodbye to them. He thought they were all still in their night dresses and things. And actually, this is what they were walking, had big white flowing robes and all kinds of things.
Oh.
Yeah. And they'd walked from Glastonbury over quite a period, I think, 10 days before they got to Netherbury. And I know they called in some of our other churches, obviously on the way down, because they'd signed the visitors' books. But I'll have to find out what the pilgrimage was all about. But I think they were ending somewhere on a pilgrim trail, either in Devon or in Cornwall.
Wow. Yeah.
I had a surreal moment last night at an event, talking to this 16, 17-year-old boy who was regaling tales of Sydney the Spider, the little character I use for primary school children.
Mm.
Of course, because I've now been here so long, that he was at school as a 10, 11-year-old, and now he's like 16, 17, because I've been here 6 years. And it just seemed weird talking to a 17-year-old about a little character that I've got for primary school children.
Yeah, so it stayed with him.
It stayed with him, but
Yeah.
it just felt weird looking up because he was taller than me.
Yeah.
Well, last year, Chris, was the first year where a child or group of children that had started in reception in the primary schools left sixth form at Beaminster from when I first came. That's the silly moment. You see these 6'6" young kids who were down at your knees when they first started. It's quite a thing.
It's almost felt a little bit in that scale.
Yeah.
But it just felt weird talking to a 17-year-old about primary school characters.
I know. Yeah.
Right, do you think we should have a pause and read something from that book, the Bible, the one that you get it out of the box?
Oh, look, Deb's even got one. It's not even an electronic one.
I've got two of them here. If you want to, borrow one, you're very welcome.
That's David all over, twice as holy.
Yes, twice as holy. Twice as scruffy, mine is. Look at it.
No, this one is falling to bits. This one's falling to bits. You're okay, it's falling to bits. And I'm sure I shouldn't have it because it's got my name and Tilstock in it, which is the church I used to be vicar of. I'm sure I should have given it them back at some point.
Okay, I'll read from...
I'll have a pause first, Deb. Have a pause.
Let's pause. So a reading from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 13, beginning to read at verse 24. He put before them another parable. The kingdom of heaven may be compared to someone who sowed good seed in his field, but while everyone was asleep, an enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and then went away. So when the plants came up and bore grain, then the weeds appeared as well. And the slaves of the householder came and said to him, Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? Where then did these weeds come from? He answered, An enemy has done this. The slave said to him, Then do you want us to go and gather them? But he replied, No, for in gathering the weeds, you would uproot the wheat along with them. Let both of them grow together until the harvest. And at harvest time, I will tell the reapers, collect the weeds first and bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn. Then he left the crowds and went into the house, and his disciples approached him, saying, Explain to us the parable of the weeds of the field. He answered, The one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed are the children of the kingdom. The weeds are the children of the evil one, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are angels. Just as weeds are collected and burned up with fire, so will it be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send his angels, and they will collect out of his kingdom all causes of sin and all evildoers, and they will throw them into the furnace of fire, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Let anyone with ears listen. This is the gospel of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Oh, it's another farming parable, Chris. We're looking to you for advice and inspiration.
Indeed we are.
Well, the harvest was happening around me yesterday. The combine harvester was in the field, separating out the corn from the straw.
Oh,
And
so
putting the corn
it's
in
all
the
around
container.
you?
Yeah, but my concentration didn't hit around the farming. I went to near the end of that parable, and I thought something we don't talk about very often, and we tend to like to ignore, is, evildoers will be thrown into a furnace of fire where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And I thought that horribleness, we don't tend to talk. We sort of gloss over that, don't we? We don't really talk about heaven and hell existing really much in today's world.
I do like a bit of gnashing of teeth. That's always a good one. It appears once or twice in in Matthew's Gospel, doesn't it? Gnashing of teeth.
Yeah, it does.
I wonder, Chris, again, you highlighted last week the importance of the parable we had, the sower and the seed, was more important. The real central importance was the sower rather than the actual seed growing, because without the sower doing the job, and that central importance of the sower, which you read, Debs, which said that the sower is the Son of Man, actually puts the importance back onto the action of getting the message put across, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I ended my sermon last Sunday with go on, be a bad farmer and waste your seed by chucking it in the brambles. Because that was a generous God last week. But here we have actually even seed, the sower sowing seed in good soil, with somebody coming along trying to taint the good growth by sowing weeds in amongst us, which is something we all have to be a little bit careful of, isn't it? The thought is actually that, well, we all want to get rid of all the bad in us as soon as it comes out absolutely immediately. But it's almost like here, actually, don't destroy the seed of God's love in your heart by trying to get rid of all the weeds too quickly. Or is that heretical?
Well, no, I think the thing about the seeds growing up together, I mean, it's not just about good people and bad people. It's about in us the good and the things that we feel a bit more conflicted about. And, that wisdom about, let it all grow together. I think I find that a very hopeful thing, because it can be very black and white, can't it? What's good and what's bad. And, well, I mean, obviously, I'm not saying we should embrace things that are wrong, but I think it's easy to see what we think is wrong. And I mean, I guess it's about the whole person, or the whole body of Christ, or the whole world, that, there's difficult things, and judging too quickly what's the good and what's the bad, it's all mixed up together. And actually, eventually we will have to sort it out. But we do need to live with things that some of us find difficult. And what I think is bad is probably not what someone else thinks is bad, because, you know, when you get down to quite a lot of difficult issues for some people, like, for instance, when we were in the deanery and in our parishes as well, when we were thinking about LLF, for instance, and, you know, human sexuality, and, you know, for some people, they're very, very conflicted about, you know, what is a good and proper relationship. And now we're looking a bit more widely, and we're trying to, you know, look through God's eyes at people who are different from us. And I think some of this is pertinent to this, because the good and the bad seed, that's a pejorative thing. I mean, Jesus, when he's explaining it, talks about it as an allegory, but it's also about when we feel something's bad. Sometimes if we rush to conclusions, maybe we're missing the good. Anyway, that's a bit tangled up, just like the parable.
I think that's a good point. I mean, we're very good, aren't we, as human beings, and all of us, I include in that. We're very good at jumping or making judgments on other people, aren't we? And sometimes it's fairly clear. I remember many years ago having the discussion in village pub up in Shropshire with somebody. There'd been a spate of silliness from some young children nicking the sweets out of the shop, because the shopkeeper was a very elderly lady, and they thought she was a bit stupid. Well, she was far from stupid, of course, and knew exactly what was going on. But they were stealing the sweets. And some chap in a debate or discussion said to me, well, which is worse, killing somebody or just stealing a few penny sweets? And of course, we know the answer is that they're both wrong. It doesn't matter which is the worst scenario. They're both wrong. You shouldn't be stealing. Certainly shouldn't be killing people either. But we as human beings have put the scale of seriousness to what is wrong, haven't we? If you kill somebody without and you've planned it, that's murder. If you kill somebody in a fight without having thought, that's what I want to do, it becomes manslaughter, which means you get slightly less in prison. And then we split other things down, don't we? So we're very good as human beings about making judgment and deciding what is right or wrong. But God tells us what's wrong.
Yeah, and I guess the idea of when the landowner says, no, let them grow up together, it's like accepting the mess that the world is, you know, accepting difference. And yes, there are things among there that we would want not to you know, talks about sin. But I think, I mean, well, I'm not a gardener, but, you know, I sometimes when I look, and maybe this is heretical, Chris, but when I look at the garden and I'm thinking, those are lovely plants, and then a proper gardener will say, they're just a load of old weeds. And so it depends on your perspective, doesn't it? Because I used to have these periwinkles in my garden once, and they were really nice. And my friend said, you need to get rid of those. They're just killing all the other plants. And, you know, but to me, they just look really nice.
Well, there is an adage that a weed is just a good plant in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the point here, is let the weeds grow, because the weeds might turn into good plants and then become a good fruitful harvest.
Well, yeah, because if they're among the good seed, you know, I know that other people have had a good influence on me. But I know in the parable that it said an enemy did this, and then Jesus says this is the devil. So I'm not trying to minimize that, but I do think in our lives, you know, there is a tendency among some of us to say they're the people that are in, and those are the people that we don't want, and it's a bit of a difficult one. I don't think it's our judgment to make, and I think it's certainly God's judgment, and maybe sometimes we jump to judgment too quickly.
Well, I often quote Mother Teresa in a sermon. I probably do it once every 3 months, because I think she famously said, once you've judged somebody, you've lost the ability to love them.
Yeah, I've never heard that. She's got some brilliant wisdom. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is true, and it was a conversation I had the other day about how do you just love everybody, and that tends to be our task that we strive to do. It's harder than you think.
Yeah, it is.
But it is interesting of just treating everybody as you are. So I suppose this parable has a little bit of a phase of treating the weeds the same as the wheat.
Yeah, which was what happened, isn't it? Because they let it all grow up together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you separate it when it matures.
I find it interesting that in the passage you read, Deb, it says that the Son of Man, so God, will send his angels, and they're going to collect. I've never seen angels doing that kind of work before, because angels normally arrive, don't they, and say, "Don't be frightened," and all this. We with the things we say, and they appear at great dramatic moments in biblical history. The birth of or whatever it may be. But here, the angels have got another job. They're the ones who are going to be sorting out the good from the bad.
Yeah. The reapers.
The messengers, angels being messengers of God. They're the ones who are going to come and do all the dirty work on his behalf. Interesting. I've never really read that before.
No.
Well, I have read it many times. It hasn't jumped out of the page quite in that way today.
Yeah.
So lots of sowing and reaping going on. I saw yesterday. I popped over to our house in Punnell, and I could see in the distance they were doing all the harvesting of the I guess, second cutting of grass. Would it be, Chris, this time of year?
Probably second cut, might even be early third.
Yeah.
Depends on what the grass is when it was planted and how the first of the year started.
Yeah, I can see it in the distance.
The rain we've had would have brought on a sudden spurt of growth.
Yeah.
Which would be a healthy grass. So
they were busy doing that, and they didn't seem to worry too much about whether they cut the weeds down with the grass. It all seemed to be going into the same trailer. So that
goes to feed the cows. So
yeah,
they can eat the weeds as well, as long as it's not too thistly, because then you need a donkey to eat thistles.
I think every farm should have a donkey just for that job. Obviously, it's a bit like us.
I guess a modern take on this would be, because I often think about this, I've been reading about it, with your recycling, the good recycling and the bad recycling, because you can contaminate all your recycling if you don't wash it correctly or if you put in the wrong thing. And there's a lot of stuff in the press, isn't there, about, actually a lot of this stuff isn't going to be recycled, which is topical. And because I have to chase Brian up because he's always tossing things in the recycler and he hasn't washed them correctly. So then I have to fish them out and wash them because you can contaminate it. So,
but it's also true that every person you speak to has different items that go in the recycling and don't, and different methods of how you must or must not put it in. It's something that I find is an incredibly difficult task.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question? Is there a right way to clean something? I didn't realise there was a right or wrong way. I thought you cleaned something. You cleaned it.
Yeah, no, it's just that Brian doesn't clean it, is what I'm saying. He just. You
did make a comment that there is a right way to clean it. Now,
I was being merciful to him, but basically, sometimes I have to fish out cans and they've still got baked beans in the bottom. That's what I'm saying. He's not here now, and he probably won't watch Rev Chat, so we can get away with it. But basically.
The parable of the weeds and the wheat has turned into a domestic dispute.
Can I just say, Debs, he won't get away, as if I bump into him in the next few days. Not that I wish to cause any marital disharmony whatsoever, as you know. But but I'm just checking up. It's this washing correctly. You're saying that washing is washing, as opposed to the bean tin must be scrubbed left to right, whereas the bottle of something else must be shook up and down. That is am I missing out on something? Is it the method of my cleaning?
No, I do have a ritual washing. No, I don't. He just doesn't do it, and I have to I have to go through the recycling.
Right. We've heard enough of your ritual recycling and the sows. That's great. Well, thank you both very much indeed. Well, dear viewer, I hope you've got something out of that. Please do contact Reverend Deb Smith of the Bridport team if you want a demonstration. I'm sure there must be one on YouTube of how to do your washing of your recycling properly. Do you wash crisp bags as well, Deb? Are you a crisp bag washer?
Well, because I didn't know you could recycle crisp bags. Can you?
They go back to the supermarkets.
Do they?
Yeah, there's a special recycling area in big supermarkets for certain type of plastic that can't, where it says where it can't go in the normal recycling.
See, I've learned something today. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the shop in Bridport by you used to take them at one time because we used to cart all ours down, but they couldn't cope with the volume that everyone was taking in, I think. Because it is only a small shop, isn't it? I can't remember what it's called. I passed it yesterday.
Oh, what, Waitrose?
No, the refilling of your you can
the waste not one not.
Yeah.
Oh, they take those. Oh, I didn't realise they took those.
They used to. Same as biros. We collect biros by the ton in Beaminster. People drop them in because we have an outlet. Gillian, everybody in Beaminster knows that Gillian Perrott is our eco warrior. She does a fantastic job. She really has.
Yeah.
And anything that can be recycled, she manages to find a place.
No, she's great. And she really helped us here because our eco church is really growing. In fact, St. Mary's got a bronze award recently.
Well done.
Yeah. And we're trying to do it as a parish. So the eco church people, wherever you go to church, they work together. It's been great. But she's been amazing. Thank you to.
I tell you what, once she gets the bit between her teeth, as everybody knows in Beaminster, she was the driving force between our cells on the roof and the air source heat pumps and everything else that we've done. And it's been great. But so you can keep an eye on this. There are good recyclings and proper recyclings, and sadly some stuff that is still dumped in the sea. But I don't know what that's quite got to do with the parable of the sower. But there we are. Good to see you. We'll all be back hopefully. No, Chris, you're not here next week, are you?
I'm not here next week, I'm afraid. No, next Wednesday, my son's getting married, so I shall be away.
Oh, gosh, that'll be great.
Officiating and partying.
Yes. So next time you appear, maybe you should bring us a photograph so we can see you in all your finery.
Yay! Why not? I shall try. We shall see what we can find.
Well, I don't know if David and I can't cope without you, can we, David? Last time we.
No, I can't. I just don't. To be honest, I haven't got the skill quite yet because I forgot how to do. If I'm honest, I forgot how to do the invitations and things. If I can do it between now and then, I'll get Joe to show me. I'll do it. But otherwise, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. It'll give you a break, dear viewer, from this whatever it is.
Circuit of wisdom, I think, is what you mean.
Thank you. So there we are. So again, as ever, if you're watching this, you've already know how to find us anyway, and we're very delighted that you have. Do write and let us know anything you want us to know. And do tell us if you've seen Deb's on YouTube with her washing demonstration. We'd love to know that. We'd love to know that as well. And Chris, I hope your son's day goes well.
Yes.
Yes, so do I. I think it should go very well. I'm just quite envious that both him and his partner, being school teachers, have got a 5.5-week honeymoon.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, actually, I'm going to a wedding next Saturday, and one of them is a school teacher, so they're doing the same thing.
Marvellous. I'm not going to a wedding. I should be stood on a patch of grass in Broadstone on Saturday in the rain.
Oh.
Which is even worse. But there we are. All in all, is this your second child you've now helped on the marriage trail, Chris?
Yes. I did my other one 2 years ago. The eldest got married.
Yeah.
I remember
he
that.
got married 2 years ago. Last year he had a baby. Who's now
He
one.
did. That's very good of him. He's a miracle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a miracle. Did his wife have anything to do with it?
Well, maybe a little bit. Maybe most of it.
Checking on that moment in time. There we are. before we get into this, dear viewer, leave us to chortle on without you, and we'll see you again soon.
Okay.
All right, thanks, bye.
Bye.